Welcome back to Cure for the Common Game. Today, we are gathered to pay respects to one of the elder dragon that defined our format. As I understand it, Sean Menery and crew created the elder dragon format based on these five creatures. And originally, you could only have one of the five creatures, one of the five elder dragons as your command. Of course, rules have since evolved. Now, this 8-mana 7/7 flying trampling monster, yeah, you got to spend 3 mana just to keep it around, but it is also part of the 3-hit club. In Commander, that is a exclusive club for those commanders who can kill you in 3 hits, because it does take 21 commander damage. So all your 7/7s are there, and weirdly enough, so is Skittles. But anyway, so we got 3-color, and where I went was 3-color dragon. It's been a while since I've done a dragon-themed deck, and this one's got white in it, so I had to I wanted to use white dragons. But first, let's get our ramp out of the way. Of course, we have our typical complement of artifact ramp. Got to have that soul ring. Dragons are just mana intensive. They're pretty big, and they carry a big casting cost to go with them. And of course, the rampant growth. Now, I'm really liking the Dragon's Horde. You get mana of any color, and another ability there. If you don't need it, you can remove some gold to draw a card. Of course, our land searches. I am counting these 3, the Disciple, the Servant, and the Shaman, all as mana ramp, because let's face it, they're going to help us pay our dragons faster. And of course, the big red mana spell, Mana Geyser, because it's amazing. Here, also, I'm running the 2 Sarkans, the Planeswalker deck one, and then the real deck one, this one is more or less ramp. It's color fixing, but the turn after you play it, you have access to 2 more, I'm going to call it dragon mana, than you had before. So, in theory, on turn 3, you cast Sarkin. On turn 4, you drop a land, and now you've got 6 dragon mana. If that's a thing. You know what I'm talking about. So, let's look at some dragons. Of course, we can't seriously have a dragon deck without Shivan Dragon. This is a dragon. Now, granted, not this art. The original Melissa Benson art is amazing, but that Shivan Dragon is Magic the Gathering. Of course, we have the Siege Dragon. It's going to make all those Doran players sad. Moonveil Dragon. I like Team Breathing. Team Breathing is awesome. Scourge of Valkus. I'm trying to do these by colors. It has a dragon comes into play effect, so that's, pretty sweet. Demanding Dragon, kind of new. Sarkin's Whelp, because, why not? And Ryusei, that when it dies, it deals 5, of course. Now, let's look at let's look at a small sub-theme first. We got Jugan. When it dies, you're passing out 5 counters. Now, Enduring Scale Lord says, adds counters. Dramoka adds counters through Bolster. And then we have the trio of Stormwing, Herd Chaser, and Shieldhide of all the Megamorph dragons that, I'm counting these as 7 drops when I put them in the deck, because it takes 7 mana to flip them. And you're really going to want to morph and flip, just because you get all 3 of them have that same last line. Put a +1/+1 counter on each other dragon you control. So that's a thing. I got a Rith, because, he's Rith. He does make a few blockers. That's fine. Sovereign, Savage Vent Maw. Savage Vent Maw is great with the enchantment that I'm not playing. The Relentless Assault enchantment. You know, it's oh shoot, y'all know you're probably screaming at the TV right now, but I can't think of it. You know, you spend the mana, you get another attack. Aggravated Assault. There we go. And then, of course, we have the Destructor Dragon. Now let's get into some mono white dragons. Of course, Alabaster Dragon was one of the early ones. I don't think it was the first, but it was definitely an early one. Yeah, mono white's not been. Of course, this one I really like. I'll pay 6 mana for this guy because they just can't cast spells while this guy's attacking. That's kind of sweet. And then now I've got Scale Lord Reckoner here. It's when one of your dragons gets targeted by an opponent, you destroy a non-land permanent of that player. So that's really sweet. I run across a cheap copy of a Chinese version of the C17 deck, so I do apologize. There's quite a bit of cards from it. But my last mono white dragon is Ancestor Dragon from the Global Series. And question for the Rules Committee. If y'all will look on tappedout.net at the deck list here, this card is what makes the deck illegal. I have been operating under the impression that the Global Series cards are EDH legal. Now, what's up? I mean, obviously we want to play with these cards, especially this one and, you know, the White Dragon. But, yeah, please make that legal, guys. Fix the site where they recognize something. I don't know. I'm going to play with it. I don't think this is a terribly broken. I don't think any card from the Global Series has been terribly broken. It's not like they're going to bust the format wide open. But anyway, let's look at some enchantments. Of course, we got our Dragon Tempest. Now, Wild Pair is going to do some work here because we have a lot of square status stuff, 4/4s, 5/5s, 6/6s, a lot of them. So when you play one, you're just about always going to get one. Gruul War Chant, you know, they all have +1 in Menace. And then, of course, the Primal Rage is going to give them all Trample. And the Fervor is going to give them all Haste. So we're just making some, you know, giant dudes. Side of the Scale Lords. Creatures you control. So this is not just one. This is, you know, probably most of your dragons. And gives them Vigilance and +2. Frontier Siege. Now we're probably always going to choose the dragons. Go figure that. You can have it fight. So dragons typically are pretty good about fighting. I'm just saying. You know, they tend to be on the biggish side. And I'm running Miraculous Recovery because there is a small +1 theme in here. And white, this is the white Zombify? It is your graveyard, so you can't, you know, pillage other people's graveyards. But now, Earthquake is just an absolute perfect because most of our, by the time we're casting dragons, we probably don't care about our little, you know, dragon servants and whatnot because, I mean, they're dragons anyway. They don't really care about them at all. But Earthquake, damage to flyers, or I'm sorry, non-flyers and players. Pretty close to Magma Quake. But Magma Quake, you spend 1 more mana for the instant ability, which is fine because, you know, we're playing with Mana Geyser. Expel's not terrible. Of course, Volcanic Geyser is an instant fireball. Yeah, okay, it's not fireball, but it's an instant face blast. Standard suit of, you know, Corrosion Grip, Naturalize, Disenchant. I'm running both Hull Breach. This is so beautiful. Love Hull Breach. And Artifact Mutation, because, you know, Saprolings. I may think about since I'm running a couple sapling makers there, may think about that Devour Dragon. That could be pretty sweet. Except, don't have one. Back to nature, like I said, back to nature is stock is rising with every Estrid deck that gets built, or, not just Estrid, but all of them. Back to nature's a thing. Don't forget. Fate Forgotten, I'll admit, the dragon in the art and the fact this is foil is kind of what led me there. And then I was like, exile. Because, see, I read words like exile target Darksteel Forge, or, crazy stuff like that. Beast Within, love those first 3 words, destroy target permanent. It's always going to be worse than the beast you give them. Cleansing Nova, here again, utility is king. Now, I am running the Relentless Assault. It's not the aggravated, but it's relentless. This is actually the rookie card of the Relentless Assault. This is the first printing back in Visions. Because sometimes that just wins games. Kind of like Overrun. Sometimes it just wins games. The last card I've got is Super Overrun. Now, this is, like I said, sometimes it just wins games. The ultimatums were all so incredibly mana intensive, but we got so much effect for them. Well, some of them. Some of them were just... Anyway. Maybe one day we'll get the other 5, like the Khans ultimatums. But +5 first strike, lifelink, and trample. This swings a game. This ends a game. Anyway, that is what I have got for Palladia Moors. I do appreciate you watching. Y'all let me know what you think. But right now, we're going to shuffle and cut.